This right here is my graph. It is broken up into different sections. This graph represents the amount of caffeine that I have had over the course of 2 days. For this public service announcement, the time period starts at 6 a.m. and it continues over a 48-hour time span, which is 2 days. Another important thing that I need to mention is that the X values are the amount of caffeine being consumed, and the Y values is the hours that it was consumed at. So this is the first line that represents the first amount of caffeine that I had at 9 hours, which would be 3 p.m. day one in military time. That's this graph right down here. And since there wasn't any caffeine in my body, then obviously the only amount of caffeine that was added was the caffeine from this particular caffeine item that I consumed. And next to it is an inequality. And what the inequality shows is that the x value must be greater than the first first hour which I consumed something, but it also must be uh less than or equal to the next hour which I consumed something at, which was 13.7.5, which in military time would be 7:45 p.m. at nighttime. Now, by using the previous equation, I was able to determine that next amount of caffeine in my body I would have is that first number right here, and that 50.76, and there's that graph right there. So that represents the new amount of caffeine that's in my body, and that creates a new equation for from the previous one because it's a new amount of caffeine in my body, and the inequality next to it is similar to the first one, where the x value has to be greater than the second hour I consume caffeine, but it also has to be equal or less than to the next hour when I consume caffeine. And then next we have this black line right here, which is the represents the next time I consume caffeine, which again I calculated to be 39.1, and and then that's the amount of caffeine that I have in my body at that point, and the time is 14 and a half hours, which would translate to the 9 o'clock. Now, the reason why it's like that is because this isn't exact military time. It just works in that same type of style. So, yeah, you just would just keep adding on to the hours, since starting off with the starting point, which is 6 a.m. unlike the normal starting time. Anyway, just like the previous two inequality, the x is greater than this this hour, the third hour, but it has to be less than or equal to the next hour. The final amount of caffeine that I can assume, which was 5.11, and I did that at 16.6 hours, which is 11:15 at nighttime. And the inequality next to it is a little different, because since that was the last time I consumed caffeine over the course of 2 days, instead of just being the next hour, it would just be the 48, which is the end of the 2 day span. So next, going down the list is the time period where I was asleep, and these two inequalities represent that. The first one represents the first day. Um, it's saying that x is greater than the 18 hours, which is when I go to bed, and the 24 hours like represents like the total hours in that one day. And the next inequality represents day 2, which is a similar format where I go to bed at the 42 42nd hour, and 38 represents the total amount of hours. And you see right there, this finally this red line where it says 32 kind of like represents a critical point in the graph. Very important there.